get started. I've got 5:01 p.m. Pacific Standard Time out here in Northern California. And on the line with me today is sports psychology consultant. Jeff, is that the term we're going with these days?
Sure, mental coach, whatever you want to call me.
Okay, all right. Well, good friend, tennis colleague, and world-renowned expert in the mental side of the tennis game that we all struggle with so much, Jeff Greenwald from the San Francisco Bay Area. Jeff, really glad that you're on the phone with me tonight. And again, you're down in San Diego getting ready to play your first round match tomorrow in the World Senior Championships held annually different places around the world, but this year played on the hard courts in San Diego. And welcome, Jeff. You've got your first round match tomorrow.
First round tomorrow, yeah. I'm looking forward to getting started and getting into the tournament, yeah.
Well, Jeff, hey, listen, man, good luck. I'm sure you'll do well. You're the number 5 seed down there. Always a tough guy to play against, and I'm sure you'll do well. The topic for tonight that I really want to get into is talking about, how do we mentally prepare? How do we build confidence before either, let's say, a big league match or maybe, in your case, a big tournament? You haven't played a match yet. It does take you a little bit of time to kind of, at least for me anyway, it takes maybe a round or two to kind of really get my legs under me and really get the confidence rolling. Jeff, give us a little bit about, how you can help us prepare before, it could be a day or two before we know we got a big match coming up. What are some of the strategies that you use for building up confidence that can really help us?
Well, there's quite a few actually that one can use. I think the really important sort of general comment I'd like to make is that confidence in what, or a question I'd like to pose to people to ask themselves is, confidence in what exactly? If it's confidence in winning, that is out of our control to a large degree. Certainly and I think it comes down to what we can control, and that is where confidence can really be built in controlling the things we can control. I told you, Brent, earlier, I moved over, from one hotel to another because I want to be in a place that feels good to me. I feel comfortable. I know this resort here, the La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club. But so that just brings up, I think, a whole area of what do you control, and to take to take steps. Whether that's being in the right place. It goes down to having the equipment ready, and there's a lot of things, getting your practice in and making sure that's lined up. There's a ton of things that need to happen before you play, depending on how committed you are. But I just want to pose that as confidence in what? If you have confidence in your ability to focus, confidence in your, in your preparation, and actually we'll get into maybe a little bit visualizing, in fact, what you want to be seeing of yourself in your matches. How do you want to be out there, and seeing that and having some cues. So there's really a ton of things you can do, and it all happens within yourself, in your mind.
I think that's really a good question that you asked in response to my question, which is, what do we want to build confidence in specifically? And there's no question that so many of us, prior to a big match or a big tournament, we start thinking about the consequences of winning and losing. And, a lot of it for me has been that too, where I'll go play a big tournament and it's kind of like you're almost thinking, how badly am I going to screw this thing up? And I think, the sooner that you can get out of those thoughts of, winning or losing, and the consequences of that. And you're absolutely right, Jeff. I mean, in terms of controlling what you can actually control, making sure you've got, enough freshly strung rackets, you've got all the clothes you want, just like you said, the hotel is you've changed hotels because you didn't feel comfortable in the first one. Now you feel good. How do we get out of those thoughts of, thinking about winning, thinking about losing, those kinds of things, as opposed to what you're saying?
Well, and that's a great question, because it does, of course, I think everybody would love to know, what's the secret and how do we really do that? Because it does come down to, essentially where are you putting your focus, and what are you saying to yourself in your head? And we know these thoughts come very quickly, very automatically. In my case here, for example, it's kind of interesting. I have many people come up to me and say, oh, you're playing the 45s. Oh, you're going to win that. I've had probably half a dozen easily come up, yeah, you're going to win this tournament. And
that's a killer.
And then others saying you should win. I've had a good handful saying you should win, using that what I actually call a swear word in tennis now, should, because it just serves no purpose whatsoever.
Right.
So it's just interesting having to sort of hear that, and it doesn't rattle me because I have confidence in my ability to focus. And while I've had thoughts of outcome for sure, I bring it back, and I keep bringing it back, and I go back to what do I control, and I'm going to get a massage in a little while here, making sure I'm hydrating and eating properly, and I got the cardio I needed today. So, but yeah, we have to manage those thoughts, and that brings up another, area that is absolutely fascinating and I think really doable if people understand how to manage their mind. And of course, we're going to do that in the video series, but would you like me to hit on, Brent, sort of this concept of managing your mind a little here?
I mean, I think really, give us something, relate it more towards a guy who's getting ready to play his Saturday afternoon 4-0 league match, and it's a big match. If these guys win this match, and especially with the team thing, I mean, it's almost like with the league team thing, sometimes there's even more pressure because you're, other guys are depending on you. And so, here it is, this guy, he's working, he's got a real job, he's working Monday through Friday, and he's got the family, and by Wednesday, he's starting to hyperventilate a little bit and start worrying about the Saturday afternoon match. Give us a little bit in that situation. Sure. What do you go through to be able to kind of control, not just totally freaking out before that match?
Okay, so what people really need to make sure they have beyond the rackets and maybe an energy bar and some water is our cues of what their plan, a template, if you will, a plan, a blueprint of, what are the key things that they want to go out and do in that particular match. On the return of serve, maybe it's, moving forward and attacking the ball, or on the serve, maybe it's reaching up a little bit. So there could be some, one or two, there certainly could be a couple technical swing thoughts that you hold loosely, but that you have an intention before you go play that, look, here's how I want to go play. I want to hit through the ball. I'm going to stay down, and I'm going to be loose. And, again, and that needs to be personal for everybody. And this is where the mental game people need to understand that the mental game is not in isolation. It's not on an island by itself. A technical cue of, say, standing as I now do, sideways to the line to serve, really putting my foot, that grounds me and gives me a focal point. So I'm not worried or thinking too much about it, if I'm going to miss a serve, or, that even a tactical cue of hitting cross court a few times and looking for a short ball to pound it down the line, or to go at a spot in doubles cross court and to really see that tunnel, where you're the path of the ball going to your spot. So there's hundreds of different cues that one could choose from. So having those cues and in your mind, and even visualizing them the night before, or just walking around, you picture yourself serving out wide, and all of these things can really ground you. So you're in the present, focused on things you control, and not on whether you're going to win or lose, which you really don't have control over.
I think the word you brought up there in your answer there, Jeff, visualization is really been something that's helped me the last, 10 or 15 years, and that is the night or two before a big match, or maybe before a tournament, even a league match. I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I want to spend that time rather than worrying about stuff and worrying about outcomes and sort of, thinking, God, what can go wrong here? What I really love to do is kind of visualize myself playing out points, and it's interesting because I don't really see myself winning or losing points as much as just kind of hitting the ball, and just sort of visualizing that really comfortable feeling, which is what your whole mental tennis stuff is about, fearless tennis. That's really what I try to visualize, is playing sort of without fear and not worrying and that kind of thing. And I'll go through all the different shots. I mean, I'll go through the serve. I'll go through that little pick up half volley transitional shot. I'll play a volley overhead, do the same in the return in the ground stroke game, and all those shots I want to visualize that I just feel comfortable, and I'm not worried about that stuff.
Yeah, and the visuals are really, I mean, research backs it up. I mean, they really do kind of groove your brain, your synapses, and sort of make that shot more automatic, and which is what we want to be as much as we can out there. But and the visuals can even be used between points, where you come up to the line and you kind of picture, the trail of the ball going down the tee, or picture yourself stepping in, or, having a cue and just say forward or aggressive, whatever theme you'd like to bring into the match. So the visuals can be certainly the night before and pre-match, and, at the grocery store in line, or between points. So, yeah, it's a very powerful technique for sure.
So then let's say that it's now the day of the match, the morning of the match. Let's say you're going to play a match at noon, and what do you do in the morning? Mentally, how do you build confidence when you're 2 or 3 hours away from a big match? Is there a different strategy that you go to, a different technique that maybe you did the night before?
So it's really important. For me, preparation before matches. Managing time is really important. You don't want to ever be rushing. So rushing is the kiss of death for a lot of people. If they feel like they're rushing to the court and they're just, everything sort of feels pressed, and that doesn't help you walk onto the court in a state where you feel present and in control, and sort of your mind is fairly clear, and certainly you'll have some adrenaline, but embracing that. But as far as the routine goes, certainly if I have a 9 o'clock match, I'll be up by 6:30, and I will stretch a little bit, and then I'll eat breakfast, give myself some digestion time, and then I will I'll do a progressive muscle relaxation. That's what I did in the national hard courts in the fall. I typically will do some breathing or visualization. I've been liking the muscle relaxation, the tensing and releasing of muscles, and I have an audio of that we can share with people too. But that's a way to really get your body looser, and then get on the bike for 10 minutes. I warm up for about 25 minutes or so, and then and make sure I have all my stuff and I'm ready to go. And some music I'll play, that a couple songs I will listen to that are consistent for my tournament. So it actually creates an association. The music actually kind of gets me into a state that I like. So there's a number of different sort of vehicles and things that I'm using, but time management is really important.
And I've got a question from Jim on email here, Jeff, asking about confidence building before the match, and I think you just mentioned something about getting on the stationary bike, and his question refers to how much warm up do you think? I mean, do you like to go out and sort of warm up on the court maybe an hour or two before you play your match? You said you get in the bike, but I mean, do you do much on-court warm-up? Because I know for me, Jeff, that I need to get out in the court, for probably 20 to 25, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the conditions, and try to crack a sweat. And for me, that really helps build confidence for that match, so that when I start the match, I don't feel like, I don't feel cold. I don't feel like I need sort of, time to kind of get going. What's kind of your rule of thumb in terms of how much, pre-match hitting or on-court exercise someone ought to do?
Well, let me say this, that I think most people don't do enough warm-up, mentally or physically. I think we prefer to kind of get to, whether in even practice sets, and I just kind of backing up a little bit, I think, a week before a tournament, you ought to be really starting to get yourself in that mindset, or before a league match where, you're wearing some clothes that you might wear in the match, or, you're getting to the gym 20 minutes early, getting on the bike and stretching. So you've got your cardio going a bit, you stretch, and then you get on the court. So it sort of simulates a tournament. Now, in a tournament, I think if you tend to get pretty aroused, your kind of nerves are going, and, a lot of people have a fair amount of nerves. And so that can be worked out with some cardio. So some bike, a good warm-up, maybe you need 45 minutes, and some people may need up to an hour.
Right.
Even. Now, I mean, the standard is no warm-up, or, in the league matches, or like, you get your quick 10 minutes. Maybe that's just in the match you get 10 minutes. But that is just leaving so much on the table. I mean, it probably takes half a set at best to get kind of into it and get your focus narrow on the task at hand. I mean, it's really it's a challenge and such a delicate to get ourselves ready and feeling good mentally and physically and focused and blocking out, distractions. And so I think, some people may need literally up to 45 minutes doing something. It could be jumping rope, but there needs to be some physical exertion to manage those nerves, and that can be very helpful.
Well, no, I agree. I think the greatest nerve buster out there is to really get something going where you're really cracking a good sweat. And at least for me, that really helps settle me down. And it may not be a confidence builder, quote unquote, but what it certainly does for me is it sort of knocks out some of the nerves, which, it's almost like confidence building, Jeff, is sort of like, how do you eliminate as much of the nerves as possible when you start, so that at least you get a chance to, give yourself a decent chance to start the match right. Right. I think the definition of confidence really needs to be clear about what are we confident in. As we started the call, confident in your ability to focus. Confidence in your ability to focus on the right things, on the productive things. That's confidence. I mean, that's supreme confidence, because so it's really a shift. And that's a chapter in my book of broaden your definition of confidence. So really, what you're saying then is we're really building confidence if we can control, those feelings that we've got control over. And I guess what I'm hearing from you is that that's a better way of defining confidence, as opposed to, letting things kind of control your mind. Yeah, because that's hard to, I mean, we can all feel confident that we're going to, we're playing well. We're confident that we're playing well, so that, if we control things that, we can and manage our intensity and do the right things, we're going to probably play and get into a good state. We're probably going to play pretty well. And if we play pretty well, we're going to feel pretty good about ourselves. And then we're likely to win games and probably win matches, which is going to give us more confidence. So I think we just need to start this thing in the right place. And, I think a lot of, this is dealing with uncertainty. Part of the joy of this game is that we don't know any time we walk out whether we're going to win or lose or win the tournament or how we're going to do. And if we had a crystal ball, it wouldn't be that exciting. But that's true. That's true.
To embrace it and to embrace that uncertainty and then control the things that we can. And I think that's what the pros have figured out, and we can all learn from that.
For me, one of the things I have to do, and I guess maybe confidence, the way we kind of came up with the theme for this call, maybe kind of misnamed it, but, for me, one of the things that gives me confidence is when I trust that bad things are not going to happen. And what I mean by that is, I think a lot of us, and I've gone through this before, where before a match, the night before a match, we start getting these kind of nasty, evil thoughts. There's that voice in our shoulder just going, you know what, you are just going to get embarrassed tomorrow. And then it's kind of like you try to overcome that sort of artificially with these, well, no, I'm confident, I can do this, blah, 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 as opposed to sometimes it's like exercise of just kind of some deep breathing exercises where you are telling yourself that you trust that, you know what, if you don't panic on this thing, if you don't work yourself into a big negative frenzy, that you can trust that your strokes are going to show up, that any kind of physical training that you've been doing is going to show up, and that for me the word trust is really a big one. That I just trust that when I go out there, yeah, I might not win the match, but it's not going to be this horrible negative experience that I think so many recreational players perceive from time to time.
Say that so many are what?
Well, I think there are so many recreational players that kind of perceive from time to time that this horrible thing is about to happen.
Right.
And even though we try to go into these positive visualizations, I mean, I think a lot of it, too, is trusting that, all the work you put in, all the time you put in on the practice court in your practice matches, whether it's tennis lessons, whatever it is, if you just trust it and don't worry about it so much, your worst fears are just not going to happen.
Right. Yeah, and also I think we forget to actually, it's really funny, but, we forget to actually enjoy hitting the ball, so the fear you're talking about, the forehand could go off, or God forbid that, you double fault 10 times, or, and your partner's disappointed, and all of this anxiety, which, it can be there for players, but that to enjoy the feeling of hitting the ball and being in out there with your partner and playing at one point at a time and I think the gratitude and appreciation for being out on the court by itself can sometimes quiet that fear and worry about what's going to happen and what could happen. And so I think that's one important point. And the other is to refocusing on specific things that can help replace those thoughts. Blocking thoughts out and trying really hard to not think about things is not very often not very helpful. But really putting your attention on your racket in your hand and feeling your feet on the ground and enjoying hitting the ball and being focused on that particular point and really, and I know we're going to do more of this in future calls and things, but coaching your own brain, the idea that your brain should not be always in charge of you, that we need to sometimes coach our own brain and say, okay, down boy, it's okay, I'm really going to enjoy today, that's my goal, and I'm going to hit through the ball and attack those returns. So, that we need to kind of talk back a little bit as well. So.
And then, Jeff, we're to check back in with you later on this week, see how you're doing with the tournament, and we'll have a new topic for a conference call at that time. But, hey, man, thank you so much. Get a good night's sleep. Go get them tomorrow, and we'll be watching your progress.
Thanks, Brent. Thank you. Talk to you guys soon, I hope. Okay. Thanks again, Brent. Take care.